The biggest risks to your future comfort and peace of mind are often the non-financial what-ifs. In this episode, Jim Martin and myself, Casey Bibb, are going to discuss the critical steps every retiree should take to prepare for the unexpected. Estate planning, emergency funds, healthcare power of attorney, the risk of losing a spouse early, and preparing for a long-term care need. So let's get ready to make retirement great.
This episode, it really hit home with us. We were talking before we were prepping for this, having a conversation about one of our clients who recently went through a situation that wasn't about the market being up or inflation or bad investments. It was really the loss of a spouse. And to protect the innocent, we're going to call this individual Susie. But Susie and let's call him David, they had plans. They had goals in retirement. And then the unexpected happened. David passed away and Susie's left in this situation where her life is changing right before her eyes. Now, we've seen the devastating effect of that oftentimes in retirement planning. We've seen these situations where somebody has planned to do amazing things in retirement, their spouse passes away, and now their standard of living is just decimated. But in this situation, that's not really the case because we've run the numbers, we've run the plan. But all her goals, her objectives, those trips they wanted to take to Hawaii, the things they wanted to do for their grandkids together, is changing. It's changing in a big way. When most people think about retirement planning, they think about the money, Social Security, investments, taxes. But honestly, the biggest disasters that we see for retirees, they're not just about the money. They're about the what ifs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm the queen of what if. So I love this topic because you just don't ever know. So what if you get sick? What if your spouse passes away suddenly in the case of Susie? And what if your adult children don't know your wishes or your other family members if you don't have children? Those are important decisions that need to be talked about in advance. And it's not things that are going to show up on your balance sheet, but they can turn your life upside down if you're not prepared, especially if you've not done any planning. So again, retirement is not just financial. It's legal, medical, emotional, all those things combined wrapped up into one. And ignoring the what ifs could leave your family members or whoever you care about in a bad position if something was to happen to you when they should be dealing with their grief or celebrating your life. They're trying to piece together what you may have wanted.
And that's not all death, right? Like this
No.
is not all about that. Sometimes it's a long-term care event.
Yeah.
Or fill in the blanks. We're going to go through some of the big 5 what ifs out there that retirees need to be ready for. Hey, I'm Jim Martin, by the way. I'm joined by Casey Bibb. And if you want to learn more about what we do and who we are, you can visit us at martinwealth.com. Make sure you like and subscribe. That always helps the algorithm introduce our show to other people just like you. So we would appreciate it. So Casey, I know you are the what if queen. I worked with you a long time. And every time we're going to do something, it's what if.
Yes.
So let's start at the top. We've got 5 big what ifs. What's number 1 on our list?
Yeah, so number 1 is estate planning basics. So again, it's not all about death, but what if something happens to you tomorrow? You want to make sure you have those basic estate documents in order. Your family could be stuck in court fighting over decisions. And unfortunately, we've seen it, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Money can bring out the bad side of people.
The worst.
Assets of any matter can really bring out somebody's true colors. So at the very least, you're going to need a will. You want to make sure that you have your beneficiaries updated and keeping those in line if your wishes change. And depending on your situation, maybe a trust makes sense. The trusts aren't just for the wealthy. They're for anyone who wants clarity and control. Along with a will, it gives you some peace of mind and some written documentation on what you want to occur. So have a will that's current and it's valid. Make sure your beneficiary designations match your plan, and consider a trust if you want to avoid probate or add protections against your assets.
And having this done is not so much about you. It's about the people you love.
Yeah.
So getting that in line is an act of love. And if you want to learn more about the difference between a will and a trust and what might be right for you, we've got a previous show all about that. So check that out. Emergency funds. Number 2, what if for our seniors, for people that are in retirement? A lot of times people think emergency funds are just for the 32-year-old.
The non-retirees.
Yeah, if I lose my job, but I don't know about you, but furnaces break.
Yeah.
Roofs have to be replaced.
Cars break down.
Cars need transmissions. And here's the thing. Just because you've been living off your portfolio doesn't mean you should ditch your emergency fund. Uh, Set aside some cash. Have that there for life's emergencies. We like to encourage retirees to keep about 6 months,
Mhm.
6 months to a year. If you have more than $100,000 in an emergency fund, it's probably too much. But hey, if you really feel the need of that, so let's imagine your liquid net worth is $1.5 million. Sure, have $100,000. Anything more than that's probably too much. But use it for true emergencies,
Yeah.
not vacations, not gifts. Use it for something big, something tangible, something that is unexpected in not a tragedy per se, but an emergency.
Mhm.
And you can replenish it if you spend it. That's the other important part. Replenish it over time. It doesn't have to be all at once. But I think the other thing about an emergency fund that really happens is it gives you financial peace of mind, especially when the market pulls back, especially in the loss of the spouse, especially in fill in the blank for all these events that could and likely will occur in your lifetime. It
Mhm.
just gives you the window to know, hey, no matter what, I've got a big hoard of cash ready to roll if life throws me a curveball.
Yeah, you can get it taken care of. Number 3, healthcare power of attorney. So this is a biggie, and I we don't see it getting done a lot of, or as much as I wish it would. But what if you can't make your own medical decisions? Who do you want to speak for you? What are your wishes? And along that goes with a living will or advanced medical directive. I know for a fact that if something happens to me, I don't want my children or my husband having to spend the time trying to figure out what I would have wanted.
Yeah.
There's other things that they should be focusing on. So this is one of the most important and again most overlooked pieces of retirement planning. A healthcare power of attorney gives someone you trust the authority to make the medical decisions if you can't, if you're physically not able to make those decisions or even mentally not able to make those decisions. So again, name a trusted person you want as your healthcare power of attorney. Talk to them about your values and your wishes. Be open and candid about it because nobody can read your mind, and keep the paperwork updated and accessible. You also want them to be able to find it timely when it's needed.
Sure. I have this mentor. His name is David. David has passed away, but David was 55 years old, sold a business, 7, 8 figure sale, owned this huge estate and farm. And just if you looked at him from the outside before tragedy happened, he was living the life a lot of people would like to live.
Yeah.
Retired early, sold his business, beautiful wife, beautiful family, everything. Everything was great. Then he had a massive stroke and he was no longer with us. And here's the reality, but at the end of his life, he was on breathing machines and all life support and all the other things. And I don't know that he had a living will or not. Like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I know that if he did, his wishes would have been on paper.
Right.
And his family would not have had to sit around the table agonizing about what do we do?
Yeah.
And then they have to live with that decision forever. So I encourage people to really think about what that means. And there's great legal language around it. For me, we have one written in our estate, our trust, that if two doctors determine that there's no feasible way for me to regain my faculties, pull the proverbial plug. I don't want to be a vegetable.
Yeah.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, well, dad wouldn't want that or mom wouldn't want that. But that doesn't mean they're not going to sit around the kitchen table just being destroyed emotionally about these
Right.
decisions. So I really encourage people to have it in writing because it's really an act of love. And I think the other thing that we want to factor in, one of these other big what ifs, is the early death of a spouse. And it's one of these areas that's just this massive risk.
Yeah.
Massive risk. And what if your spouse passes away early in retirement? And a lot of financial plans don't model that.
Right.
So when you build a financial plan, they're going to take your average life expectancy and then they're going to add 10 years to that. So most plans are going to run to 93 to 95, depending upon the sex or the gender, rather.
Yeah.
So if you're a woman, it'll run to 95 because your life expectancy might be 85. And if you're a dude, it's going to run to 80 or 93.
Mhm.
And the challenge with that is most people don't live all the way to their life expectancy. Some live over, some live before.
Yeah.
It's an average, right?
Right.
So it's really important when you're going to build a financial plan to stress test it and say, okay, what happens? Because there's some huge impacts that happen with the loss of a spouse. Number one of the social securities goes away.
Instantly.
Yeah, you lose it. Number two, Guess what happens if there's pensions? Well, if you didn't elect for survivor options, that may go away. Make sure your life insurance, your estate documents reflect your wishes. Here's the other thing. There's something called the widow's benefit, or
Mhm.
not the widow's benefit, but the widow's tax. If you are married filing jointly, you have a higher standard deduction. Everything's better for you from a tax perspective. You're living under one roof, you're splitting expenses, and at the end of the day, you have a better tax treatment. If you're single or widowed, rather, now your taxes might go up significantly because now you have the RMD from your husband or your wife plus your IRA, and now you're taxed at a higher rate.
Right.
And that can be a real tragedy. And especially if you lose a big pension
Mm.
or Social Security and you've not been a great saver, that might really stress out your plan. So, one of the things we truly focus on a lot is I hate to tell people this, but we always try to kill somebody off.
You are very good at killing people off.
I do. I tell them. I don't. By the way, I don't do it when we first meet them because I ultimately want them to work with me. So I don't.
Cleanse the blood a little bit.
I don't want to give them the bad news right away. But we want to stress test it.
You do.
Nobody gets out of this alive.
Mm-mm.
Like no one gets out of it alive, and you need to understand what the impact is. When I run my own financial numbers, I run me dying all the time.
Yeah.
It's why I have life insurance to protect my family. It's why I have a succession plan for the business. I have all of this stuff done
Yeah.
because I don't know when the end is, but I know it's there.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think this is one of the big misses. If I had to pick any of these that are listed on here, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one where an early death, and we're not even talking about the emotional toll of like
Mm-mm.
having to figure out what's next, like having to find your purpose in life.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, it's hard. It
Yeah.
takes it. You can take 5 years for people. I get it. Some people are ready the next day. I don't understand that, and I think it's fine. But for a lot of people, they live with it
Yeah.
for a decade.
Eats with them.
It really does. All right, let's move on to the last big, and this is an important one. This might be number one. One of these, the last two are the most important.
Yeah, it's certainly a big one. Long-term care needs. So, what if one of you needs long-term care for several years or even a year or so? It's one of the biggest financial and emotional risks, and it's something that we really try to focus on in our smart wealth system because all of a sudden somebody could need some long-term care and you're going to have to start writing $8,000 to $10,000 checks. And that's not going to feel good
Every month,
every month just to get them the care and the room and board and everything that they
and
need.
that's only single ply toilet paper.
How do you know this?
I know this because we have so many clients over our lifetime that have had family members in the nursing home. That's just for the basics.
Yeah.
That's not even for the double ply toilet paper.
I can't say that I've talked to somebody about the toilet paper, but
These are the things that matter, Casey.
yes, it's definitely an issue if you have not planned for it and thought about that toilet paper situation. So, I mean, do some simple math. If you end up having to write those checks, you could be writing checks for over $100,000 a year for your loved one. And to me, it's not something that I want to sneak up on me or somebody in my family.
By the way, while you are still living at home and still have your own bills.
Right. Your life is continuing.
Yeah, it's $100,000 plus everything else you're spending along the way.
Yeah, and it can certainly drain your savings and will 100% put a strain on your daily life and your entire retirement plan. So decide whether you're going to self-fund, buy insurance, or use a hybrid approach. Again, know your numbers, run your numbers, talk to a financial advisor. That way you know if you're self-insured or not. Talk openly about your wishes for care at home or in a facility. Talk to your spouse about it. You should know each other better than anybody and really dive deep into those topics.
And by the way, there are a lot of spouses out there that have the plan to shoot me in the backyard plan.
Yes,
That does not work.
it doesn't.
It does not. Like, if that's your plan to say, well, I've told my wife to push me off the bridge if I start to lose she is not pushing
And
me.
bury me in the backyard.
Yeah, there would be a whole lot of 70-year-old, 80-year-old women or men being locked up for killing their spouse. It does not happen. They might want to kill them sometimes, but it's not because they're losing their mind. Well, it could be because they're losing mind, but it does not happen
Yeah.
because they love them
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they're emotionally broken
Yeah.
because it's hard. It's hard when your loved one goes to a nursing home. They might not remember where they met you.
Yeah.
might not remember your first date, might not remember your kids' names. Things change, and it's really sad. And the last thing we want to do is deal with all of the emotional grief that occurs, and there's a lot,
Mhm.
and the financial strain on the other
Yeah.
side. So it's a huge what if, and it's a massive miss. Again, early loss of a spouse, long-term care, those are the big ones, right? And the other ones matter too.
Yeah, absolutely, and without a doubt, you have to take all of them and really dive deep into them. I don't know about you, but when I'm emotional, I don't make rational decisions, so it's just something you need.
No, I have a, what do they call what did Joe Biden call it? An Irish temper?
Yeah.
I get hot real fast and calm down pretty quickly, but I don't make good decisions when I'm mad.
No.
I've learned to sleep on it, and, if you're feeling grief and all this stuff, it's really hard, and all of these are emotional, but the really cool thing for almost every one of these is you can model it in a financial plan.
You can.
That's really cool, and then the second one is you can actually take steps before it happens in order to put yourself in a big position. You can have an emergency fund.
You can.
You can get your legal documents in order. You can plan for long-term care needs. You can understand what happens mathematically if a spouse passes away. We're not talking about the emotional side. You're gonna have to work through that, and that's incredibly hard and difficult and all the other things around it. But it's traumatic for sure.
Yeah.
So Casey, we're at the point where I've got some Q&A dialed up of questions I think people may have if they listen to this show.
Okay.
And I think this is a good one because we see this one a heck of a lot in our office. I already have a will, but it's from 15 years ago. Is that good enough? What do you think?
Great question. First, I'd like to say we're not attorneys, so we're not going to offer legal advice. I would definitely recommend talking to a professional in that industry if you have specific questions. But me personally, I would say probably not. I think wills should be updated as needed. Laws change. There could be new grandkids. There could be new in laws. You could have moved states. Your assets could change. You could have inherited stuff. The list goes on and
Fill in the
on.
blank.
Yeah, it's something that definitely needs to be reviewed, not all the time, but it definitely needs to be looked at more than every 2 decades.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah.
I think you've got to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, remember your power of attorneys, they might not even be alive any longer.
Maybe not.
Your kid who, when they were 22, you looked at them and said, I'm surprised they can tie their shoe.
Right.
Like, but now,
Yeah, they've
now,
grown.
now they're grown and probably responsible. And maybe they should be the power of attorney or executor. So
Yeah.
I think it's really good to update those. And also, in that same vein, update your beneficiaries on your IRAs, not your wills rather, but your life insurance, et cetera, because that's the law of the land.
Right.
So important to update those. Okay, moving on to question number 2. How much should I keep in an emergency fund if most of my expenses are covered by Social Security and pension? Because this is a real question I actually received a couple weeks ago from one of our clients is, hey, Jim, between my pension and my Social Security, that's pretty much what we're spending. Why do I need an emergency fund? What do you think?
Yeah, great question. From a mathematical standpoint, you may not need as much as somebody still working since you do have so much fixed income. But we still recommend, I agree with Jim's recommendation earlier about 6 months of expenses, is because it's not about income replacement. It's about handling those surprises and without disrupting your plan.
Casey, you're dead on. It's not income replacement. Emergency funds are not for income replacement. That's part of your financial plan, part of your income plan. What we're talking about is those big, lumpy, unpredictable expenses. I've got to put a new roof on,
Yeah.
and I don't want to sell anything out of my IRA that will create a tax situation. So I pull it from my emergency fund, and then I build my emergency fund back up.
Yeah.
That's a theoretical, but that's how we would handle it. I think at the end of the day, as we talk about all of these, the great news, all of these, while they're unpredictable when and if they'll occur,
Mm-hmm.
are very easy to plan around.
Yes.
And I love that part about it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things are really hard to plan around. I mean, how can you plan around 8% inflation or something like that? That's really difficult. But death, we all know it's happening.
I know.
Long-term care, 70% of Americans will spend some time in a long-term care facility, according to what I've read recently. Check your own data on that. Estate documents, we can get that done.
Yeah.
So I think that's the really cool thing about it. But Casey, as we kind of wrap up today, any final thoughts, anything that we can give our listeners and the people out there as they move forward with this?
Yes. So my little nugget of wisdom would be I think that it's natural and normal to not want to think about these things because you don't want to accept that there will be an end, or you don't want to put your mind in those situations and have to think through what's going to happen. As much as I've tried, I can't ever make a situation perfect no matter how many times I try to think through all the what ifs. But I've gotten pretty good at hitting the high spots on what really needs to be taken care of, and I think that you can align that with your retirement goals and your estate planning, because I know that I care about my family more than anything else in this world, and my friends and everybody in my circle, and I don't want them to have to make these decisions for me. So if I can be proactive so they don't have to be reactive, I think that it's a win all the way around.
Yeah, it's a statement of love.
Yeah.
When you do these things, it's about love.
Mhm.
It's not about anything else.
No.
You're going to be dead.
Yeah.
It's about making your family's life easy. If you're on life support, it's not about you.
No.
Because you're likely not going to get through it. It's really about how do you release your children and your spouse from the obligation and the emotional weight of making those decisions.
Mm.
So all great stuff. Hey, by the way, we are now on YouTube, so you can search for Smart Wealth and Retirement right on YouTube, and you'll find our channel, and you can watch these videos. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you want to listen to us in the car, just look on Apple or Spotify or whatever your choice is. Hey, my name is Jim Martin. This is Casey. If you want to learn more about how we may be able to help you, and our goal this year is to help 100 families, 100 individuals plan for and enjoy their retirement with a holistic plan, go out to martinwealth.com. More than anything, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week. Take care.
We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of the podcast. Opinions voiced in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives. Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional. We are not affiliated with Social Security or any governmental agency. New River Financial Group, LLC is a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Virginia and other jurisdictions where exempted. New River Financial Group, LLC, doing business as Martin Wealth Solutions. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining value.